words that you use to show the position and the location of a particular object, okay, or person. Now let's take a look at the sentence. You need to have a good grasp. That means you need to be good. You need to have the skills, the concepts, right? Good grasp, that means you understand the topic very well. And what is it that you need to understand well? It elaborates further by saying it's the concepts. Okay, so you can see this is a sort of elaboration. Now, looking at our options. The first one is in. In is used to show position. The cat is in the house. At shows a location. Mother is at the coffee shop opposite our house. Okay, there's a particular address and you can locate it on the map. Off here shows the relationship between two subjects. So I can say Mary is the sister of Jenny. So you can see off here shows the family ties between these two girls. For it shows a support of something. I am bringing some bread for brother who is playing football in the competition. So you're trying to support him by giving him food. Now for this question here, you can see that the good grasp is one idea, right? You need to have understanding of a topic. Secondly, they share with you that you need to have a good understanding of what? A particular object, which is the mathematic concept. As such, we're trying to show these two items have some kind of relationship. It means you need to be good in mathematics. Okay? As such, the answer here would be number 3. Here's a good grasp of the concepts taught. Hello, who is this? Nan Hua. Hello, good afternoon, Kayling. Okay, moving on. Let's take a look at question 3. Everyone is required to evacuate the school immediately. Dash a fire might break out. Hello. Yeah, the name is very funny. Okay, for this third question, we are looking at modal auxiliary verbs. Okay. Now, why? What's this all about? Well, these auxiliary verbs actually show how certain actions have to be carried out. Okay, in a particular way. Now you can see in this question here, we're looking at how a fire may break out and you need to evacuate. So this evacuation here is compulsory. You cannot say, oh, I don't want to evacuate, I want to stay in my room, right? So with this understanding that an action is compulsory, let's take a look at my options. First one is might, which shows possibility. That means something may happen or may not happen. I might go to the arcade tomorrow. That means I don't have 100% chance of doing something. Next, you have could. Could here shows the request or offer. Could you please bring the cup to me? So I'm trying to ask whether you can do me a favor. Would. Would shows habit. I would visit grandma on Sunday. Okay. Lastly, we have should. Should tells me the need to do something. In other words, we are looking at something that is compulsory, something that you must carry out. Okay, so as what our friends have been saying, very good. The answer is number 4, should. Okay, very good. K Ling Hua and Teng Nan Gia. Okay, let's take a look at question 4 now. The deadline for the submission is 3 days away. There isn't dash time to complete our project. Mabel reminded her classmates. So this question here tests you on quantifiers. Basically, these words show us the quantity of something. QTY stands for quantity. Alright? Now, looking at the question, it tells you that the submission is 3 days away, which shows that there is very little time. Low quantity. Okay? The next thing that we observe is the idea of time. So we need to ask ourselves, is time countable or uncountable? Well, we all know time is uncountable. So when we have these two ideas in mind, let's take a look at the options. It's very clear cut. Our answer is we don't have much time. Okay? Okay, now let's take a look at the other three options to understand when to use these words. Many is countable and used for high quantity. There are many cars in the car park now. Much here is used for uncountable subjects and high quantity. He put in much effort in his homework. Okay. Now in this question, you can see there isn't much time. That means we are looking at a negative connotation here. All right. Just for everybody's awareness. Now, option 3 is some. Some here can be used for either countable or uncountable. It's interchangeable and is used for low quantity. Some of the boys do not want to go for the learning journey tomorrow. Countable. He put in some effort in his homework, but he still got a fail grade. Some can be used for uncountable in this case. Lastly, little here is used for uncountable and low quantity. Please put a little sugar in the coffee. Okay, so this is uncountable. Alright, I'll just give everybody some time to take in the information first before we move on to our next 6 questions. Okay, if we do not have any questions, let's move on. Okay, question 5. Mrs. Teng asked her students to help her dash the stacks of worksheets back to their classroom. Over here, we are interested in tenses. Now, let's take a look at some keywords. We observe the word asked here, which is verb number 1. Next, we observe that this blank here is verb number 2. Whenever there are two verbs observed, we will need to apply the rule, which is known as your verbs of perception. So this rule states that when you have two verbs, your second verb here needs to be in the base form, which means I need it in present tense and I need it in plural form. So it will be her asked her students to help her carry. Okay, so this is a very straightforward question. No need to look at the other options. Now, while we know the answer, we want to also learn when to use the other options. So let me share with you the use of other options. Carries. This is present tense and singular. Carried is in past tense. Now, the last one is known as the continuous form. Take note, I didn't say it's a tense, it is a form. So we will use it in two ways. Okay, the first one is when we use it in present continuous tense, which shows an ongoing action as you speak. So for example, I am carrying the books to class when John started talking to me. Okay, maybe let's write it down. I am carrying the books as I talk to you. Okay, maybe this is a better sentence. So you can see that this action is ongoing as I talk. So you can see there is concurrent action. Okay, I just zoom out a bit so you can see my example sentence. Next, this continuous form can be also used when you want to use a kind of grammar called a gerund. So this basically means that the verb functions as a noun. Okay, it's a bit confusing, right? So let me give you an example sentence. Reading is a good hobby as I can relax. So you can see here that the action word in the sentence actually is you can relax. Okay. Now you can see reading over here. We know reading as an action as well. But for this sentence, we are not trying to say that the author or somebody is engaging in reading action. Instead, we are trying to talk about how this habit of reading, can you see? It's a different thing altogether. We are referring to the habit or the many events when people start reading books. That's why we call this a special group of words known as a gerund. Okay? Okay, now let's take a look at question 6 now. Pointing to the apples next to him, Mr. Raj remarked, "That type of apples is the sweetest." Now, for question 7 here, we're looking at subject-verb agreement. Some keywords that we need to take note include type and how the apples were next to him. First, type here is a singular subject. There's only one type of apple that Mr. Raj likes. Next thing we observe, before I move on, I just correct myself. Over here, we're looking at determinants, not subject-verb agreement. That's for question 7. Okay, so these determinants here are you use them to talk about to refer to a particular subject. Okay, now you can see that the next word that we observe is how next to him. So it means that it's within reach. And Mr. Raj can actually touch it, can take the apple up and show you. So these two ideas would point to option number 1, this. Okay, when we use that, it's also used for singular subject, but it's for far away objects. For example, grandfather could point at an aeroplane and say, "That was the aeroplane I took when I was younger." Okay, so you can see that he cannot touch it. That's why we use that. These here is used for plural subjects. Those is also used for plural subjects. Just that for the word those, it is used for faraway things. For example, I can point at the cars down my road and say downstairs and say those cars were honking and making a lot of noise. Right? Because those here is used to refer to things you cannot touch because they are too far. Okay, let's move on to question 7 now. Neither Nora nor her sisters dash going to the birthday party next week. Okay, so this is a subject-verb agreement question. Now, first thing we observe, next week. This tells me it is a future event. Therefore, we will always use present tense. Next, sisters. This is plural. So we will use are. Okay, because present tense and plural. Now, some of you may be asking, why is it that we are looking at sisters? Since the sentence starts with neither, which already means zero. Right? Neither, that means nobody. Well, for this case here, we need to apply what we call the rule of proximity. In other words, the noun here that is closest to my blank would be the noun that we will take into consideration when choosing the answer. Alright? Okay, let's take a look at question 8 now. The librarian instructed us to behave dash while she went to the restroom for a short while. For this kind of question, we are looking at intensive pronouns. Intensive pronouns basically stress on the noun or pronoun it refers to. Okay, so with this idea in mind, we need to choose the correct noun or pronoun first. Okay, very good. I can see a Starlight Whisperer say the answer is 2. Yes, because of the word us, which is plural. And it's referring to the author and his friends. Therefore, we will use the word ourselves. Okay? Yeah, very good, butter cookies. Okay, we're going to end the grammar section quite soon. 2 more questions. Our debate members have qualified for the next round of the competition. Dash they. It's a very straightforward question tag question. So I have identified a positive connotation here. Therefore, I need a negative connotation at the back. So, does anybody want to give the answer? Very straightforward question. Okay, maybe it's too simple for everybody, and nobody wants to share. Okay, anyways, the answer here will be haven't. Okay. Now, what if I change the question a little? Okay, I just want to value add a bit to your learning. Instead of our debate team members have qualified, I change it to never qualified. Then what will your answer be? Assuming that you have all 4 options here again. Okay? So I repeat, I have a new question. The new question is, our debate team members never qualified for the next round of the competition before dash day. Alright. Okay, just a quick explanation. Never here, when you have encountered such language inside the question tag question, is usually the examiner trying to test your understanding of how to rewrite the sentence. For never, and you can see this whole sentence is never here will be changed to have not qualified for the competition. Okay, you need to have this alertness to change and rewrite it in a form that allows you to have a negative and positive connotation. I hope everyone is following. So in this case here, if it's have not, then it will be have they. Alright? For my new question. Okay, for those of you who are wondering what's the answer for question 9, it's number 4. Okay. Alright, let's take a look at question 10 now. Dash we take action now, we will suffer from the effects of climate change. This question tests you on conjunctions. Now, conjunctions are basically linking words. They will combine two or more information in one sentence together. You can see that the keyword is take action now. So we're looking at some sort of criteria. And after the criteria is given to us, the outcome is presented at the back of the sentence. The outcome is quite negative. It means you will suffer from climate change. So we are looking at how this first part here is an important criteria that we need to fulfill. If not, the outcome would be something we have to bear. Looking at the options, since is used to show reason. Since the train broke down, I was late for school. Except is used to show outlier. Except all the students went for learning journey except Tom was sick. Unless is used to show criteria. And despite is used to show contrast. Despite the heavy rain, the competition, the running competition still took place. Okay, so for this question here, in order to demonstrate a certain criteria needs to be met, our answer will be number 3. Okay, I'll just say that this question is pretty kind. Usually, you need to be aware of the different contrasting conjunctions. Okay, for example, although, despite, yet, however, nevertheless. Okay, you need to know when to use all these words. Now, I'll just briefly explain when we use them. These two are always at the start of sentence. And it needs to be followed with a comma. However, comma, then blah blah blah. Or nevertheless, blah blah blah. Alright? Now, although and despite, when do we use these two? Although always comes with a clause. Okay, so what does this mean? You need to have a verb as well as a noun. Although Ali was sick, he still went to school. So can you see? Verb is sick. Noun, Ali. These two elements need to be present in my sentence before the comma when I need to use the word although. Now, if you look at despite here only needs a verb. Despite being sick, Ali went to school. So can you see the difference? I only have the verb here, the action present, but my sentence here, my sentence number 2 and my sentence number 1 both have the same meaning. Okay, so my main points, and I hope that you can take away this afternoon, is even though we are still trying to show contrast, the conjunction that we use matters because it will affect how you write your sentence. Whether you need a pronoun or noun at the start or not. You can see? So let me just recap with everybody again. When you use the word although, you need a verb as well as a noun before your comma. When you use despite, you just need the verb to be present. Okay? With that, let's take a short break. I'll just give everyone some time to take in the information first. Then we'll move on to our next section. The live would be ending in it will end at around 4:30. Okay, this is our first session. Okay, welcome back everyone. Let's take a look at the vocabulary section now. The king dash the knight's request to marry the princess. Okay, for this question here, you're looking at the king. So it's someone who is a very high authority, and this request here is an official one. So it's something very formal, something very serious. Okay, let me just put it here. Serious matter, serious affair. Okay. Now looking at the options. The first one is allowed. Allowed means you let someone do something. Mother allowed brother to play in the playground. Okay, anybody can say yes to the request. So it's not really something that's very serious. Now look at option 2 here. Grant. Grant means that you allow someone to do something after person asked in official way. Okay, so please take note of this requirement in order to use the word grant or granted. When you reward somebody, you just give something to someone in recognition of hard work or effort. Lastly, we have considered, which means that you admit something after denying initially. So usually we will say they concede defeat. That means initially you don't want to say that you lose, but after maybe you play a few more rounds or maybe table tennis, then you realize that you cannot win. Then you just say, okay, I'm lose. That's when we use the word considered. Okay. So in this case here, because the knight's request, that means he's asking the king to do something. And it's in a very official setting, right? Because the knight here is of a lower position than the king. So in this case here, our answer would be grants the king's request. Okay, so number 2. Okay, moving on, let's take a look at question 12. Emerging as the champion of the race was a piece of cake for Eliza, as her dash were not as skillful as she was. Okay, so you can see that this is a race, so probably we are looking at like people who do a particular sport. Okay, so you need to have this thinking process when you observe certain keywords. The first one is athletes. Athletes here refer to people who basically who are good in something, good in sports. Okay. Next, we have the word spectators, which refer to people who watch a show. This show can be either a game, can be a performance, etc. Thirdly, opponents are basically people who compete in a game. So basically, it refers to your rival, or basically that person who is like serving the ball to you, trying to run and compete with you. Lastly, participants basically means people who take part in activity. Alright. So in this case here, you can see that the other people were not as skillful as she was. So we will not consider them as athletes, because athletes must be really good at the sports. But skillful here, or rather not as skillful, means that they are not good in a particular sport. Alright. Now we can see that they are participating in the race with her. So it cannot be spectator. Spectator only watch. Now we have participants and opponents. The closest answer that we have is actually opponents. Okay, because people who participate may not be racing against Eliza. But in this case here, we're looking at a race, and the people are trying to beat her, trying to be better than her. So the closest answer is number 3. Okay, moving on to question 13 now. The Straits Times reported that 2 restaurants had their food licenses dashed for failing to meet hygiene requirements. Okay, over here we are looking at how the license, which basically means that an approval, was dashed. That means they cannot run the food store already for whatever reason. Okay, and they elaborate further by saying that the restaurant never meet the hygiene requirement, so probably it's very dirty. Maybe there are cockroaches in the kitchen. Okay, so looking at the options, the first one that we have is revive, which means that someone regain life. Usually we need to revive somebody when they suffer from heart attack. Revoke here means that you officially cancel something. Restored, option 3 means you bring back a previous situation. So for example, you can say that the old building was restored. That means you change the tiles, you make it cleaner, you make it nicer, like how it used to be in the past. Okay. Lastly, we have the word revamped, which means that you're trying to improve the appearance of something. So you can think of it like you are trying to renovate, trying to make something new again. So for example, we can say that the science center was recently revamped and there are new exhibits, new things to actually do there. Alright. So in this case here, because we are looking at how the ability to run the food store is no longer there. It means that you're trying to cancel something, you want to prevent someone from doing a business. So the answer is revoked. Okay, let's move on further to question 14. The saleswoman eyed the suspicious looking man dash as he made his way around the store. Okay, so for this question here, the keyword is suspicious looking man. So when you say someone is very suspicious, very sus, it means that they are up to no good. So maybe the guy has an intention of stealing something from the store. Now let's take a look at my options. The first one is warily, which means that you are very careful in doing something. You want to prevent a certain outcome from happening. Next is swiftly, which means something is done very quickly without delay. Maybe you can say that the crow swiftly flew down to eat the worm before the worm could like escape into the ground. Thirdly, we have the word eagerly, which means that you have the strong desire to do something. So for example, the children, they were eagerly asking questions because they're very excited about a particular topic or a particular event. Lastly, hesitantly means that you are very unsure. So usually we'll use this word when we talk about people who maybe they don't know where to go, so they are very hesitant as they walk around the place. Okay? Okay, so for this case here, the answer is you are looking at the suspicious looking man very warily. So you are very careful to prevent him from committing crime or doing something bad. Alright? Okay, we will just give everybody some time to take in the information on this page first before we move on further. Okay, everybody. If there are no further questions, let's move on to question 15 and thereafter we'll advance to our next section. Okay, question 15 here is a phrasal verb question. Okay, so usually this is a more challenging question, and I hope everybody can learn something today. Lily was in tears because she had been dashed by the coach in front of her gymnastics team. So you can see that here there is in tears, I mean she's very hurt. Next thing we observe is in front of gymnastic team by the coach. So we are looking at some kind of scolding. So imagine you get scolded in front of your classmates. You'll feel very embarrassed. Okay, I see somebody's answer here. Yola fluencer, is it? Okay, put down. Okay, put down for this case here means that you make somebody silly. Okay, this is done by criticizing or saying bad things about the person in front of others. Okay, this is our answer. Very good. Now let's take a look at the other options as well. You need to remember the meaning because other papers they may test you on some of the other options as the answer. Alright. Now first one is you put up. When you put up something, it means that you're trying to construct something. Okay, put up the sign, for example. Okay. Next is put off, which means that you delay the activity. So for example, you can say that the meeting was put off because the boss is unwell today. Means you push back the meeting to another day. Thirdly, we have put away. Put away means that you store something somewhere. So for example, you can say, can you put away your phone in your bag? That means I'm trying to say that you store your phone in a better position, which is the backpack, and maybe not in front of your table and distract you, and that will distract you, right? All right, so let's take a look at our vocabulary close section now. Okay, what will happen is as follows. I'll read through the text with you, and we'll understand the meaning of the words that are underlined. Once we have once done, then we'll look at the options and choose the correct answer. Okay, so Lucas woke up after his mother woke up upon his mother's voice. It's time to get ready. His mother reminded him tenderly. Now, tenderly here means you do something gently. And there is that kind of affection. That means you say something to somebody very nicely. Okay? That day was a significant one for Lucas. Significant here means something is very important. It's very worthy of attention. Okay? Because he was getting his first COVID vaccine. And though his mother has emphasized the importance, he thought the thought of the needle terrified him. So upon reaching the clinic, the anxiety he was feeling all week surfaced again. So when you surface again, which means there's something appear after being absent. Okay, he looked around and saw that most kids were either engrossed in their phones or conversation with their parents. Engrossed here means that you are absorbed with all your attention. Means you are very focused on something. Okay? Then his name was called. Lucas took a deep breath. He walked reluctantly to the vaccination room. So walked reluctantly means you are not willing or you are very hesitant. Alright. Surface a Yola influencer. I think you are referring to surface again, right? To re-emerge Yes, you can use that word as well. Thank you for suggesting that. Okay, let's take a look at question 16 first. The mother tenderly reminded him that he's going for his COVID vaccination. Alright, so tenderly, as we've discussed earlier, means you do it very gently, with affection, with love. So looking at our options, the first one is gently, which means that you are doing something in a very kind manner. That means you are very aware of the person's feelings. Next, we have the word politely. Politely means that you are very respectful of somebody. So maybe you use the word please and thank you. Thirdly, we have sympathetically, which means that you have a pity or you feel sorry for somebody's misfortune. Alright. And lastly, we have compassionately, which means that you desire to help others. Alright, as we can see, tenderly already has this feeling of gently or gentleness. So our answer is number 1. Very good, Yola influencer. Now, next one is significance, which means something is very important, very something that you need to take note of. Looking at the options given to us, first one is great, which means something is in large size or quantity. Noble means that you are morally honest or you are very brave. Okay, got to do with a character, a good character. Major means something is very serious. And last, crucial here means something is of great importance, or you can even say is necessary. Okay. Alright. So for question 17 here, when we talk about how it's a very significant one, we will say that it is a very crucial one for Lucas, number 4. Okay, it's important because we are looking at the kind of outcome here. Okay, so in this case here is a vaccination, and probably he will not suffer from severe COVID. That's why it's of great importance. Option 3, take note, when you talk about something is major, you are describing the situation. So it's not so much about the outcome, but the current situation that you are in. That's why we will say there is a major accident, because we are just looking at the current situation. Maybe a lot of people were injured. Okay, so I hope this will answer why your answer is wrong, Yola influencer. Okay, because as stated earlier, major tells you about situation and not the outcome. But for this case, when something is significant, we are looking at the outcome and how the outcome has very, very great impact on someone or something. Now, question 18, when you surface or you re-emerge again, yeah? So looking at the options, first one, it means when you say return, it means that you go back to a place. So there's the idea that something happened again for a second time. Now, occurred here means something take place. Traffic breakdown occurred at the road. That means something happened. Unfolded means that the info is gradually being revealed to people. Lastly, when something is developed, that means you are trying to grow, something is becoming more mature. Alright? So in this case here, we are looking at how the anxiety, the worry suddenly reappear again. And we need to talk about a second time something's happening. So the answer is number 1. Alright? Now, moving on to question 19. When someone is engrossed, it means that you focus all your attention. You will not be interested in other things. Now, option 1 of question 19, when you are wrapped in something, it means that you are very excited. Okay, so there's nothing related to being focused. Secondly, when you're absorbed, it means that you are very interested. And you are not paying attention to any other thing. You're just focused on 100% on a particular thing, maybe your handphone game or something. Okay? Yeah, very good, Yola Influencer. So here, this is our answer. Now let's take a look at option 3 and 4 as well to learn. Option 3, when you are entangled, it means that you are caught in nets and rope. So when we talk about someone is being entangled in a situation, it means that it is a very difficult event. You cannot escape very easily. Okay? Okay, last one, interested. Means that you are very curious in something. Okay, so you may not be very focused, but you may be very this is a separate word, separate idea. Curious means you want to find out more. When you're focused, it means that you're trying to learn already. Okay, so it's about taking in information. While curious is like you're trying to understand, you have a lot of questions. Last but not least, we have walk reluctantly. So walk is just the idea that you are moving, and the focus is on reluctant, which means that you are not willing, you are hesitant, you are not sure, you are unsure. Okay, so looking at the options, number 1 is strode. Strode has this idea that you are walking leisurely. That means you are very relaxed, you are not very worried about anything. Okay, next one, when you trudge, it means that you walk slowly. So usually when you trudge, you are having the emotion of unwillingness. Okay. March, option 3, means that you walk very quickly and in heavy steps. And this has the idea of unwillingness. Okay. Lastly, stomped. Stomped here means you walk heavily to show anger. Okay, so for this case here, because of the unwillingness, the answer would be number 3. He marched. I'm sorry. For this case here, walk quick. When you march, it means you walk quickly with determination. Sorry, my notes is a bit untidy. There are a lot of words. That's why I mixed up both. Okay, but our trudge means that you walk slowly and heavily due to unwillingness. Okay, so let's address questions one by one, yeah? So for question 20 now, because someone is reluctant and unwilling, our answer would be number 2. Okay, next thing. Someone is asking, how is wrapped excited? Okay. Well, if you search the dictionary, come let me show you. You can see it can be a verb or it can be an adjective. If it's a verb, it's the idea of moving a particular object round and round, so you wrap a present. But if we look at an adjective, you can see overjoyed, delighted. Someone is excited. The new minister declared he was wrapped. Okay? So if you are wondering how and why, there are multiple meanings to this word. Okay? I'll just give everybody some time to take in the information first before we move on to our next question. All right. Yeah, thank you for sharing, Eileen. Now let's move on to further to our next section. Okay, we'll be looking at grammar close now. All right. Okay. Let me position it such that we can see all the questions. 35. Okay. Okay, come. What is Mpox? Mpox is supposedly a less contagious cousin of smallpox with generally milder symptoms. Dash, it can still be deadly. You can see over here. First thing that we observe is they have milder symptoms. So that means maybe the symptoms are not so serious. You can have a higher chance of survival. But you see, no. They say the next question, the next sentence, it tells you that it can be deadly, which means that you can die from monkeypox. Okay, so these two ideas here shows contrast. So we'll use the word however, okay, because this is a conjunction that shows contrast. The disease was discovered in 1958, dash the Staten Serum Institute Copenhagen, where it was spreading in monkeys kept for research. Now, for this question here, you can see that this is a particular location. As such, we will use a preposition to show that the disease existed and is related to this location. So the answer is C. It was discovered at this Serum Institute. It was then named monkeypox. The term was eventually changed to Mpox, dash the global outbreak in 2022. So you can see this global outbreak was a particular time period. And we are looking at how the action of changing the term to Mpox, it happened during a particular time period. So the answer that we are looking at is E, during the global outbreak. Okay. A new deadlier strain of Mpox originating from Congo in 2023 looms Southeast Asia. So you can see when you loom, it means that it's something very big, very scary. And it's like this big and scary monster over the small human being. So we are trying to show that it's something of an unknown. Something is unknown, something that we are unsure what is happening. So usually when we loom, it will always be loom over. Okay, to show that this unknown monkeypox is making its appearance that is very scary. Thus, travelers should take precaution traveling overseas to safeguard their health. Now you can see for question 30 here, we are looking at a particular event. So during traveling, during their overseas travel, they should take precaution. Alright, so the answer will be when. Though the exact source of Mpox is unknown, rodents are suspected of playing parts in the transmission. So when we have a contrast here, you can see that there's the word though. So this blank and though will come together, which we will use even. So even though the exact source is unknown. Now, the next question we observe part. So we're looking at rodents, that is plural. Alright, so they play their part. Or okay, in this case here, they don't have the word there. So we are looking at how the rodents, these rodents is just one of the many factors. So we'll say they are playing a part. Okay, because we are looking at a singular factor. Travelers should avoid eating bushmeat and other raw food. Mpox spreads mainly getting into physical contact with infected people or animals. So we can see that this is the method of getting Mpox. So when we want to show a method, we will use the preposition by. Travelers should practice good hygiene, wash their hands or use hand sanitizer, the absence of a washing facility. So for question 34 here, we are looking at how there is an absence, so we'll say in the absence. Okay. Lastly, signs of Mpox infection include fever, skin rash, and other flu-like symptoms. So we are looking at we are referring to the signs. Okay, so we'll say the signs of Mpox infection. Okay, so this is the main topic in the last paragraph. That's why we use this particular article, the. Okay, if there are no further questions, let's move on to our editing. I was playing golf with my friends on a Friday afternoon. We had almost reached the end of the game when the downpour dashed and we ran for shelter. These two words already tell me it is in the past tense. So you'll say it started. Rowdy, we were standing under the shelter, joking and teasing one another. Okay, so you can see that the word here actually is rowdily, because we are trying to describe the manner the author behaved. Rowdy is just this word itself is an adjective. You're trying to describe a particular person, but we are not looking at the behavior. Okay, that's why we use the word rowdily. We noticed the air had an awkward sweet smell to it. Awkward is spelled wrongly. It's a very common word the examiner will ask you for spelling. The examiner will test you on. When the boat hit, there were red flashing lights. Then there's the loudest noise I have ever heard. So you can see loudest noise. This is a singular subject. So it will be there was the loudest noise. I was completely frozen. Okay, this is a spelling error, so please take note. Oddly, I was experiencing the coldest sensation I had ever felt, but was feeling burning hot too. I felt as if I had been slammed between two garbage trucks. Okay, slam is also spelled wrongly, so let's spell it together. My limbs felt heavy and every part of my body was pain. So when we talk about how the body was immersed in a particular sensation, we'll always use the preposition in. When you use at, you're trying to show a particular location. And in this case, it is not correct. Okay, let's move on. It felt like everything between a severe headache and the piercing of millions of needles on my entire body. Okay, severe here is also spelled wrongly. Just take note how do we spell it. And lastly, entire also spelled wrongly. Okay, you can see had. I think the word they give is had struck a tree next to the shelter and bounced off to us. So instead of strike, it will be had struck. Why is it so? Because had together with struck makes up a past perfect, which shows that one action occurred before this second action here, which is bounce off took place. Alright, and we can see that the striking as well as the bouncing both happened in the past. Just that we want to show that they happened sequentially. The lightning bolt has to strike the tree first, then the thing bounce off to the author. Okay, so that's why we use past perfect tense here. Okay, I'll just give everybody some time to take in the information first before we move on to our next section. Okay, yeah, no further questions. Let's take a look at our our synthesis and transformation first. Okay, don't worry. For our comprehension close, we will run through them quickly in the next round, the next TikTok session at 4:45. But for now, let's focus on synthesis and transformation first. Ahmad goes to the library every week. His cousins go to the library every week too. So we are looking at how they have this, both Ahmad and his cousins have a particular habit. And as well as is to link two similar ideas together. So it will be Ahmad as well as his cousins. goes to the library every week. Please take note, as well as his cousin is meant to be additional information. So we'll always put the commas. And because this is extra info, we'll take into consideration Ahmad, which is a singular subject. That's why over here it goes to the library. Alright. Next, the dog ate the roast chicken on the table. So this is the active form. And we are going to change it to a passive form. This is a very common exam question. So every time this happens, this kind of question comes out, you need to identify what is your verb, what is your action. Ate. Who's eating? Dog. Dog is the subject. And who is being eaten? What is the dog eating? Roast chicken, so this is the object. So now what is happening when we change from active to a passive voice is the roast chicken, which is your object, will be at the start of the new sentence. And the dog, which was previously your subject, will be at the back of the sentence. Okay, so dog will be roast chicken will be here. Dog will be somewhere at the back. Okay, and it will be by the dog. So it will be the roast chicken on the table was eaten by the dog. Alright. Now please take note. You can see that ate here is in past tense. So when we change it from an active to a passive voice, it needs to move one time period back, which means it will be in the participle. Okay. Now let's take a look at question 63. I gave the newspapers away yesterday, said the lady. So when we have this kind of question, the first thing we do is to highlight the things that we need to change, edit the word, then we write. Why do we do 3 steps? Because we want to prevent careless mistakes. So it will be, instead of I, it will be she had given the newspapers away the day before. Okay? So the lady said that she had given the newspapers away the day before. Okay, so just take note. Gave here has to be moved back by one time period. So instead of past tense, it will be in the past perfect tense. Alright. Now let's look at question 64. I kept trying to apologize. She became angrier and angrier. So when you have the word more, there's some kind of comparison. So it will be the more I tried to apologize, the angrier she became. Alright. Okay, now let's look at question 65. The children enjoy cycling more than playing games. So you can see that enjoy here is a verb, it's an action. Now we're trying to change this verb into an adjective. So it will be more enjoyable than playing games. Okay? Okay, with that, I'll just give everyone some time to take in the information first before we call it a day for now. Alright. If there are no further questions, then thank you so much for joining me this afternoon on Right to Work TikTok. I'm teacher Nathan. And if you'd like to continue to learn English with me, do join me at around 4:45, where we'll be looking through another paper. Okay, P5 end of year as well. Okay, I'll see you guys around on TikTok. Bye bye.